everyone, I'm Jessica, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, breastfeeding and pumping at work. Let me start by saying this video is in no way, shape, or form here to shame anyone for not choosing to do this. If you're watching this, I truly hope that you learned something. These opinions and tips, these are all my own. Some are backed by research. But it's really here just to encourage you, and truly I believe that a fed baby is best. So whatever is right for you and your family, that is what I support. I support moms and babies being healthy 110%. When you choose to breastfeed your baby, it should be known that it's gonna be hard. There's gonna be obstacles, and how you handle that hard and those obstacles depends on your success with breastfeeding. So, and we all know there's a lot of variables to that, but one of those obstacles is a working mom, somebody who's gonna be separate from their baby throughout the day. So you always need to remember supply and demand. If you're not nursing or pumping frequently enough, your supply is gonna go down. Women don't just really dry up. That really kind of falls under that supply and demand thing. You're not doing it enough. There are some rare conditions where women do not make milk or make enough milk, and that is extremely rare. Most women make plenty of milk. It's the supply and demand. When you're heading back to work, you do need to have a stash of milk. And the variable of when you start pumping really needs to depend on your goals, how long your maternity leave is, and take into some considerations like that. So for me, I took off 3 months, the fourth trimester, and stayed home with my daughter. And I started pumping only a couple weeks before I went back to work because I didn't want a huge stash of milk in my freezer. It can kind of get out of control. So I started doing that, and I would make that extra feeding in the mornings between the hours of like 3:30, 4, 6 a.m. Your supply is the heaviest. Your hormone levels support that supply. So after you feed your baby, you would then go and feed again, and you would pump. And that trains your body to make extra milk in the morning so that when you go back to work, you've had X amount of days where you did this one extra pumping. You can do a second extra pumping, but just one leading up to your days off, you'll be making enough at work that it'll replace itself. Now, every baby is different, every mommy is different, and so the amount of milk made and pumped is gonna be different, even the consistency of it. Some's gonna be more yellow, some's gonna be more white. For me and my daughter, the most I would ever get out of both of these honkers was about 4 ounces. Occasionally I would get 5. One of the tips that I helped my body in the pumping situation stay in line with her and her stomach without stretching it was to always feed on a slow flow bottle. Never go up. 1 or 2 little holes in the nipple of the bottle is plenty. They need to be working hard for this milk because they work hard for this milk here. So if you open up a bottle with 3 or 4, and they're just flooding it, their little brain hasn't registered that their tummy is full, and then they're stretching, and then before you know it, you're like, oh God, I'm not making enough milk. You are making enough milk. Your delivery system has an issue. Not you or the baby, it's just your delivery system. So that's something to consider. So now I've kind of mentioned the delivery system. Let me tell you a little bit about how to shop for your pump. It matters deeply. There's tons of good brands out there, Medela, Spectra, and Hygieia was one that was really popular when I was pumping. But whatever you choose, whatever brand, make sure it's a hospital grade. It is worth every penny. The hospital grade ones will have more control and more options. So one, you can crank up how hard it's extracting that milk and also how fast. So you can make it really hard and really fast. Within reason. You don't obviously want to clog a duct or anything, but this is why I recommend hospital grade. The other area on a pump that you can become very efficient is the flanges, and I didn't know this. They all come with like a standard flange. And it's not like a bad size, and this did fit me at the time. Like I thought, this is great, this is fine. But the milk would come out slow. And I just assumed, well, I've got little boobies, a little flange will work. Not true. My lactation consultant said, get the biggest flange that you can get that still fits and won't cause any problems. So I went up on size. Look what comes, and look what I did. And you can tell, I mean, I'm not really well endowed, but the extraction mechanism matters. Go up on a flange size. Take my word for it, at least one size. If you have really large breasts, you may need to go up to the extra large or the extra large flange. But flanges matter. Quality of suck matters. This stuff matters, and efficiency. So one of my first tips, again, to stay efficient is to buy a good quality product, make sure that the flanges are large enough, and then now you kind of got to work about yourself. Like, how can I make this more efficient? So for me, I tried some of the nursing bras underneath my scrubs, and I would kind of do that. But I don't know when it happened, the bra wouldn't like flip down, you know, deep enough that I could really get a good suction in this, all the cords and all that kind of stuff. So I finally got to where, and this is what I wore at my house all the time, this is what I slept in at night, is I would wear a nursing shirt. That way I could still wear my pads if I needed to, if I was still leaking early on in the early days. But when I could flip this down, you can expose so much more area, and you'd get a good suction, right? And that matters for efficiency. The other tip on supply and demand is stimulation. And stimulation comes from an actual sucking motion, but it can also come from heat. So I highly recommend purchasing something like this. I don't care what brand you get, but they're little heated pads that you can heat up in the microwave, and then you just slip them in. Right? This would be just like, you're at home and you're holding your baby, just normal heat. But when you're away from a baby, you don't have that normal heat. So a lot of times, and it was comforting too, because sometimes with pumping you can get clogged ducts and obviously deeper issues with mastitis. But this would keep my supply up because it's stimulating that I'm holding a baby. B, it would get me ready for pumping, and I would just slip these on, before I pumped or throughout the day, just occasionally, not every day, but it felt really good, and it helped my supply stay up when I was away from baby. Another way to be efficient is to choose a really good location. Some of us don't have a great work environment that supports breastfeeding. I lucked out that I had like a janitorial closet that I could set this stuff up in, and it had a plug, and I made it work. But if you're gonna be going in and out of a bathroom, you've really got to get efficient with this. I had all of this down to like 5 to 8 minutes. Like, I was so fast, my patients didn't even know I was gone. It was usually when I was waiting for an exam for a doctor. Another tip to help you be efficient is that breast milk does not need to be refrigerated or frozen right off the bat. Like, as soon as you pump it, you don't have to go put it in the fridge. You can leave it out for a couple hours and it's completely fine. So that's what I would do, is I would get a pumping in and I would leave it until I could get to it at lunch or when a patient canceled, and then I would switch it to a bag or whatever delivery system I was taking it home in. There are all kinds of ways you can store your breast milk, and you'll figure out what works for you. These are the best bags that I could find that never leaked or broke. The price per the quality it worked great for my family. One of the best tips that I ever had was, when you pour your milk into the bag, obviously label it and all that kind of stuff, but lay it flat to freeze. Then once it's frozen, you can stand it up and file it in like a shoebox even in your freezer, and that saves on storage space. It's a lot neater, and then it also, when you warm it up and you go to do it, it warms evenly, and you don't destroy some of those properties and all the good stuff, because you kind of got to be gentle with this stuff. When you're transporting your breast milk to and from work, depending on your drive, you really need to have a good cooler. For me, my drive was only 10 minutes, so I just had a really easy little insulated bag that I would take it to and from. But if you have an hour commute, hour and a half, you better invest in a really good cooler that's going to keep things cold and that those properties aren't destroyed. So now let me kind of string all of these tips to be efficient together, and let me show you how a normal day would go for me. So I would always feed her around, 6 or 7 before I went off to work. I would get to work, I would set up my patient's room, I would set up my pumping room. If I had time, I'd go ahead and pump for 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, why not? If my 8 o'clock didn't show, you best believe I was in there pumping and eating a snack and drinking water. Then I would again pump again around maybe 10, maybe it was 11 that day again if I had a cancellation or in between patients. And then I'd always pump at lunch, never miss a lunch pumping. And then in the afternoon, I would usually just try to pump one more time before I went home. And I was usually home by 5:30, feeding her myself. So however long your work day is, just every 2 or 3 hours, you need to at least be pumping once. If you can fit it in more while you're away from baby, do it, because remember, the pump is never gonna be as efficient as extracting as your baby is gonna be. So tricking your body into making more milk or to go ahead and get a little extra stimulation, it's not bad for your body, and it will help you be successful. So I hope you've learned some tips today at really how it's not that big of a deal to pump at work. It's just whether you're going to be committed to it or not. It doesn't even matter if your team supports you or not. Just be kind, be efficient, and it won't be that big of a deal. If you're pumping for 20 minutes, something needs to change. It should not be taking that long. 10 minutes max from start to finish should be all that you are doing. I hope you learned that there's a bunch of different ways that you can fix some of these problems, and every woman who ever breastfeeds or pumps comes across multiple problems throughout their process, and the ones who learn to reach out to community, reach out to help, are the ones that overcome those and become successful long-term breastfeeding. I'd also like to encourage you to breastfeed past 12 months. Most people cut it off by then. I just kind of let it be whatever it was gonna be. Like if she wanted to do it till she was 2, great. If she wanted to do it till she was 6 months, great. For us, it was 20 months. And I will say, like, it's always so sweet to feed a baby like when they're little, but the fun that gets going on when they are older than 12 months, it is hysterical, and there's some really good memories, and it's just wonderful. It's wonderful to provide that for your baby and to have those moments, because every mama knows it's gone in a blink of an eye. It goes by so fast. If you ever need any help, you can always reach out to me at jessica@burstoralcare.com. We can help you overcome your obstacles, and I can at least point you in the right direction. I literally had every single obstacle. Tongue-tied, too much milk, not enough milk, wrong flanges, you name it, I had it. I know all the tricks and tips. And like I said, I can always point you in the right direction. Y'all take care.